Greetings, everybody. Got another word sound for y'all. Check it out. Before I get started, just want to say a few words. I know y'all could see what's going on in the world. Like, we got the war with Russia going on. U.S. about to get involved. We already involved by proxy. You know, you got all of these different nations about to encroach on Russia, and Russia is talking about nuking everybody. So that's the level that we on right now. The world is real serious. We've today's date is what, uh, May 12th, 2022, and the time is 5:31 a.m. I've been up for about an hour and a half so far already, doing work. Doing this type of work. And what I came to do today is to deliver another word sound to you. This word sound has already been delivered about 3 weeks ago on Facebook, but I had difficulty and they removed me from that platform. And I chilled out a little while, came out with another production and delivered that on this YouTube channel. And I shared it to like Telegram and WhatsApp and personal messages to people and TikTok and all of that. So if you're probably watching on one of those platforms right now. But in any case, I thank you for checking it out. The name of this one is called Reverse Engineering Tyranny, Part 1. And I have a manuscript already prepared for to read out to you. And I think you'll find this one pretty interesting because it deals with the foundation of what's taking place right now, and how we got there. And, you know, that puts us in a position to be able to do something about it, not to save any of this. I think all of this happening is just a result of natural law, cause and effect, and it was naturally slated to occur. When you leave evil alone to itself, what does it do? Destroy itself because of the fact, in light of the fact that there's another saying that when good men, the only thing that would allow evil to prevail is when good men and women do nothing. That's all we have to do in order for evil to prevail. So thank God, or thank the Almighty and His wife, that we have natural law to fall back on, so that we'd be in a position to be able to reverse these things after identifying it, because society, worldwide society, is collapsing. That's a fact. Where we only have a little bit of time. It's like people are acting as though they don't know what's going on, but the whole world population is about to starve. We're about to have chaos in this place, and um, what what the powers that should not be that actually are. That's how I choose to refer to them often. Um, what they hope to do is to bring order out of the chaos. It's actually a philosophy that they have, that they put on our currency, I think, auto ab KO or something like that. Ab auto KO, something, order out of chaos. So that's what they hope to accomplish. But without any further ado, let me jump right in. Hi, I greet you in the spirit of love, peace, prosperity, sincerity, humility, honor, patience, cooperation, forgiveness, and progress, all wrapped into one. In other words, I greet you in the spirit of resolution. I am Chief Fear None Everlasting Arawak of the Everlasting Tribe of the Americas, President, founder, and only member of the Universal Intelligence Agency by design. Don't get it twisted. I am the Universal Intelligence Agency, founder of the Universal Intelligence Institute, protector of the realm, elect of myself. I am a resolutionary writer and speaker, as opposed to being the revolutionary that I considered myself for the majority of my adult life. I am one who seeks to inspire positive change by way of the promotion of understanding as opposed to violence and conflict. And if you take nothing else from the words that you hear me speak today, please know that the challenges that the people of the world face today are going to be resolved one way or another, and that it is your decision how things go down by violence, fear, terrorization, and mass deception, which are all mind control, by the way, or a mass awakening of the people where individuals collectively realize that they are and have been under attack and targeted for either perpetual servitude or extinction. And excuse me, 1 second, got a virus on this computer. You know, and if they do not do something about it right now, everything that has made life worthwhile for human, if they don't do something about it right now, everything that has made life worthwhile for humankind's existence will be lost forever. Violence and conflict are inevitable, even with the most peaceful intentions, especially in the age that we live in, considering the social climate that has been created by way of the many factors such as governmental policies, historical occurrences, widespread flawed ideological philosophies such as religion, and or racial superiority or inferiority. These factors and more contribute to the maintenance of the status quo and ensures the fulfillment of whatever social transformation occurs without flaw to the benefit of those who have manipulated the course of events that have transpired over the course of the last couple millennia in order to fulfill their final endgame, which is obviously to destroy humanity and our home, the earth. By now, it's no secret at all from what people who are running things are now plainly coming out in our faces and telling us to what we could plainly observe with our own two eyes. We intend to rule you. We intend to impose our will upon you. Klaus Schwab, head of the World Economic Forum, says that by the year 2030, none of us on the earth will own anything and we will be happy. Does that sound like the type of thing that would make anyone happy? Would that make you happy? Do you have any idea what it would take to pull something like that off? Now let's look at the situation proposed for what it is. Today's date, at the time that I wrote this, is Monday, the 4th of April, 2022. Now he is saying that 8 years from now, everything that we currently own will be in governmental hands and that we're going to like it. Now, how does he know that we're going to like it? Sounds like tyranny to me. That means that whatever worldly possessions that any of us have will not be available for our discretionary use anymore. Uh-huh. Anymore. Of course, we'll be stripped of any rights that all of any and all rights that we have. That'll be a part of that. And the rights to reproduction, ownership, travel, culture, identity. In other words, all the things that make a human being on this plane of existence will no longer be in 8 years. Does that sound like the type of thing that you're gonna love? My short answer is no, and I don't think that the average person out there is comfortable with going into perpetual servitude or perpetual serfdom either. Now, I got a question for you. Are we collectively insane? I mean, all of the inhabitants of the earth who continue to allow these megalomaniacs to rule us. An insane person, by definition, is someone who does the same things over and over again while expecting the outcome to be different. Kind of like what we do right now, right? Now, while the Charles Schwab crowd, they're actually more functional and hands-on, focused and direct. They concentrate all their energies on the same goal, which is to both enslave or eliminate humankind. And they do this relentlessly. They don't take any days off. They are at war with us, and they know it. The problem is that we don't know it, and those of us who do will not devote the same types of energies towards the freedom of humanity as those who wish to have their ways with us. This is a problem because this will not stop until we stop them. Now, how do we stop them if we're not even aware of just how sinister the plans that are in store for us are? And we are divided. I cannot take on this behemoth of a machine without a significant portion of others. So I'm now recruiting you in this effort to assist me. I've often said that the people will eventually awaken through the effects of the implementation of the planned policies. First, it'll take them a little while to realize what's going on. Initially, they'll struggle to make sense of it all, and things will hit a critical mass. And one day, when enough people are starving, diseased, financially embarrassed, and find themselves lacking and needing in every way, and only when everyone is facing persecution and not just people of color, only then will we take what I and others and millions of others have been speaking about for years more seriously. Only then will they be willing to see another human being for who they actually are, which is another human being. Only then will they begin to realize the things that are really important. Stop focusing on that other bullshit, you know? Then they will begin to become remorseful and wish they'd lived their lives differently. They'd wish that they'd lived their lives with more conscious intent. They will wish that they had spent more time learning how to become a better person. People refuse to acknowledge our new collective reality, and they figure that as long as they have money and a way to continue to earn it or acquire it by any means, that they do not have to be good to one another, and they don't have to be no moral. Who needs values when you have money? When you have things that people want, things that people need. When you have money, you have power. When you have power, you have control, and control is all anyone ever really wanted anyway. Even babies, it's primal. We're hard driven, hardwired that way. Some will obviously go to greater lengths to get power than anyone else or control. And most people are completely oblivious to this fact. They believe that the comedic yet sinister antics of the mice known as Pinky and the Brain, who set out to take over the world every day, are as far removed from actual reality as the animation itself. I am here to inform anyone naive or unaware that the truth is indeed stranger than fiction and that art does indeed imitate life. There are forces that have been among us, stirring up division among humanity for quite some time. The things that have happened and the invisible scars that all of humanity bears from the pain and suffering that we've experienced presence, from their presence, is our own undoing and not theirs. We are their food source, and they will not let up on us until we get them up off us. Confederate General Albert Pike, quite possibly the world's most renowned Freemason, allegedly predicted all three world wars and how it would happen and why. So far, there has been two world wars, and his alleged predictions are spot on, and it seems that we're on our way to a third. What are the chances of this being a coincidence? Not high, right? No. Nowadays, through the poverty and the financial disenfranchisement that is surely coming our way in America and throughout our territories and possessions, sooner than later, I might add, and this change will be permanent. I expect people to undergo a vast shift of consciousness and perspective, and I'm currently trying to influence that as I speak, I and millions of others. The best thing that we could do now is to try to survive to the next stage in the best ways that we could without losing our shit, our minds. Now, what do I mean by the next stage? Well, I'm glad you asked. You were going to ask, right? This stage is over, the American dream stage, the part where every American was made to feel as though we're special and entitled. To be honest, all of that is true, and is true to an extent. America and Americans were blessed, but we lost the blessing. We had an opportunity to be a true light to the other inhabitants of the world, but we fumbled the ball, and now we'll have to pay. America has become an ugly, despotic nation, and its grace period is over. The rest of the world nations are despotic as well, by extension. That hedge of protection and that grace that we've been given must be taken away because we don't deserve it. Our father and our mother have to teach us some hard lessons. Not through direct involvement, but rather the lack thereof. There are laws for that, natural law. Cause and effect, better known as karma to be more specific. Certain debts have to be paid. That's just the way the universe works. In other words, whoever made their beds will have to eventually lie in it. Our punishments will be the results of our own creation, due to our own inaction and pacification of people who would forcefully take everything away from us if they could. We fear them more than we fear the Almighty and His wife, and it appears that the Almighty and His wife are forsaking those who have forsaken them and are now dealing with people on a personal level. This is how I look at it from my spiritual standpoint. And for those of you who are wondering what I mean by the Almighty and His wife, if there's a father, there must be a mother or something wrong with you not being able to comprehend that. And even in the Bible, they make reference to a force, that's present, you know, called the Holy. They made it a ghost, but that's our mother. Okay, cool. Just so you understand. Okay, so we're on the same page, right? Okay, so we were not all born together, and we did not spend the time that we're here doing the same things. It's messed up, but even though I did not do the same things as everyone else, my punishment to an extent will be the same as yours. And me, I'm still fine with that. I have no complaints. I'm one of those people that have been living in observance to the true laws handed down to humanity by the Almighty and His wife themselves. And I'm in agreement with it for the sake of itself because it resonates with the inner essence of who I truly am. Natural law is immutable, and it applies to everyone and everything. It is fixed and unchangeable. So when humanity comes with their little man-made laws that are redundancies, by the way, that don't even apply to me, I laugh and I do otherwise. I do what my heart tells me, and I do what my creators tell me to do. In this way, I'm divinely guided, and no one can touch me as long as I continue to allow them to order my footsteps, which I have no problem with because they are my only refuge. I acknowledge no other authority. But you can do what you want. It's your choice. I wish that you wouldn't, because although that I could say that what you do does not affect me, that would not be true. It does. We are all connected. So I'm faced with a choice that in my interaction with my other brothers and sisters in humanity, to either allow them to lower my spiritual vibrational frequency, or I was going to raise theirs. Sometimes they lower mine. Like today, I cursed a lady out in the post office. Yesterday, I cursed a crossing guard out, because sometimes you got to match their energies with them and mirror their energies, to let them know that they ain't like the people that they interact with, that, that they label as good, or, that label themselves as good, and just don't want no problem or whatever. I think to some extent these people begin to see us as weak people, and we gotta show them where that inner strength, but that righteous, convicted strength. You know what I'm saying? Don't be. I was nasty to the crossing guard, real nasty, but don't be like that. But you gotta stand up and be strong, and agitate the situation, because don't let them get away with that bullshit, trying to muscle you and strong arm you in other ways. So I'm still learning from my mistakes. I ain't perfect. I'm trying to be a better person. But anyway, so I have elected to do the latter and not the former. Either they were gonna lower mine, or I was gonna raise theirs. My brothers and sisters in humanity, The purpose of me coming to you with this correspondence today, as always, is to open your eyes to the reality of what is taking place in our world today, to explain how and why these things are happening and what we, who consider ourselves the good people of the earth, could collectively do about it. I'm not here to save the union in any country or in particular per se. I don't believe in countries. I never believed in countries or geographical boundaries for human beings. And with that being said, it might surprise you that I do believe in order, a righteous order. Now, this is what I've come to help establish with my fellow brothers and sisters in humanity. So I don't give a fuck what is going on with Putin and Biden, Trump, and all of that bullshit. I couldn't care less about this existing order or the fulfillment of their new world order. I'm waiting for this shit to collapse, and then we're gonna do our work if we have our head on straight. But I ain't trying to unite with just anybody, and y'all gonna come to know that. You're gonna learn that today. I've come to assist all of humanity with the creation of our own new world order, based on the positive fulfillment of our own vision that we collectively create. Now, right now, people are facing the institution of a one world government with truly unrighteous, non benevolent, satanic rulers. We dropped the ball, humanity. Nice one. So, what do we do now? None of us ever signed up for any of this, did we? Nah, not intentionally. Well, the truth is, we kind of did. The evidence is reflected in the fact that we allowed a lot of this to happen on our watch during our era, and we did nothing about it. Many individuals that are listening to me right now have been fully willing participants into activities that have brought us to this point. I don't think they knew what the full impact of their actions were going to be. Now, many of them are beginning to get caught up in the same traps that they've set for others and have come forward with evidence exposing the truth about conspiracies that they were once a part of. Others double down in a futile attempt to override what they know is coming their way. Why did they and why do they do these things? Because they're rotten inside. That's why. In fact, it's not just them. Most members of our species are rotten inside. There's something wrong with the way we think. We are not all born that way, or none of us are. We are all born pure, and we picked up bad habits along the way. We were socialized into that. Now, it's not my intention to either chastise any of you with virtue signaling or to praise you in any way. Hold on one second. Those aren't my intentions at all. It, I'm here to offer you a voice of enlightenment, to broaden your horizon and to widen your scope, to show you a way out of your suffering by identifying problems that you may be facing, that we're all generally facing, and showing you how things became the way they did, and finally, to provide solutions. In earlier productions, I highlighted the things that were used to take over the world. I identified them as law, commerce, religion, and language. I just thought of a few more: compulsory education, government, and culture. Might as well add those to the list too. Of course, I've spoken about these systems ad nauseum in the past. However, I was remiss to not include them in the initial list. It was an oversight. Compulsory education was designed to do a few main things: to create an artificial national consensus among people where all people think alike on all matters, and two, to create obedient workers in the minds and a population of workers who will not question authority. This is called socialization into obedience, where people are not taught how to solve problems or to think critically or analytically. That's the last thing they want you to do. They are turned into robot like beings doing what they are told, much like the effect that you could observe in the behavior of the average person today. Culture is the next thing. Now, this is going to be a controversial one. Culture is unnecessary and impractical nowadays. Why? Because it's always changing, you know? Uh, That's one of the reasons, and that they use it against us. We have to develop our own new universally accepted culture based on certain virtue based principles as a solution to this and adapt to times. Nowadays, we are not all universally the same, and we don't want to be, do we? So let's get that straight first. We need to talk about that because culture is today used as a weapon, not taking into account several of the other factors that I just casually mentioned and more. We are not all the same and do not 100% believe in the same things or have the same interests, nor do we want to, no matter if we are all the same color and come from the same country or we're from the same gender or from the same womb or not. But there are some things that we could universally agree on, and we should focus on that. And this will become our new culture. This is reality, and what I'm speaking are facts. Now, we're still dealing with reality, right? I hope so. What I'm saying is completely consistent with what is known as reality. Let me give you an example. Here in the Caribbean, as much as we enjoy it, carnival is not our natural culture. It was created for us to distract us, as it is supposed to be a celebration of our emancipation and our freedom. Do you see anybody out here looking like they really free? Like I'm really the freest person that I know out here, you know. So I celebrate my freedom every day because I don't take no shit from anybody, but I pay a heavy price for that, you know. But generally speaking, we're not free. The fact remains that my people would have never emancipated ourselves because our minds were obviously locked up in traditions that made us forget what our true struggle is, and it made us believe that our problems were over. Did it not? On a psychological, social, economic, spiritual, and on any other level that could be regarded as practical, the tradition of carnival has damaged us. At this point, people do not want to acknowledge this fact. Now, we really need to grow up. They just want to have a good time and they will give all types of strange justifications that don't make any sense as to why we should continue to have it. Now, I'm not going to lie. I loved Carnival, and I looked forward to it every year. You know, the walking up and stuff, and the Juve was my favorite part. However, as a responsible person, I also knew that it was bad for my people, and I hoped inside that someday it would end. But who is going to end it? We didn't have to worry about that because the pandemic did it for us. And that's why I say all of this is like the answer to our prayers. Because I was like, man, I really want to see, like 3 times this week I heard different people saying, man, I'm so tired of these cell phones and computers and all of this technology. I just want things to go back to the old way. And that's basically what the solution is. And we're going back to the old way, whether we like it or not. Natural law, cause and effect. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. So we didn't have to worry about that. The pandemic did it for us. And nowadays, since some of the mandates have been relaxed, there are people still fighting for it tooth and nail. I say that they're concerned about the wrong things and that now is the time that the people of these islands need to grow up fast and come up with a plan that covers the entire spectrum of our existence. Now, we're currently facing at least 2 extinction level events that I could think of off of the top of my head. And all a lot of the people in my community could think of is walking up in Juve, parade, boat races, horse races, getting drunk, seeing old friends and forgetting their old problems until the next festival. Now, this is insanity, doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. It's time to grow up and do the right thing for ourselves and for future generations. These things could be prevented if humanity was on the same page about at least a few things. Now, I was going to speak about government next, but I forgot to talk about contracts. Contracts are reciprocal agreements that are legally and lawfully binding between two or more parties in which certain fulfillment of obligations are imposed upon the parties by said agreements. Contracts usually involve at least four elements. Oh, this computer and its damn viruses. So I got to clear a couple things for a second to continue to read my manuscript. Yeah. Okay. Con, um, yeah, in which certain fulfillments of obligations are imposed upon the parties by said agreements. Contracts usually involve at least four elements and could contain up to eight. Contracts are present in just about every aspect of our current existence, so it makes sense to become familiar with the nature of them because it governs every aspect of your existence. True story. The following is a list of just about every type of contract you will ever encounter. There's a few more, but check it out. Fixed price contract, cost reimbursement contract, cost plus contract, time and materials contract, unit price contract, bilateral contract, unilateral contract, implied contract, express contract, simple contract, unconscionable contract, adhesion contract, and aleatory contract. All, all, though they have different elements to classify whether they are in fact a contract, they all have at least one thing in common. That thing that they have in common is that in all instances in which you contract, your consent is needed. Once your consent, once you consent in whatever way that you do, even as in the case of the adhesion contract, where you do not expressly give your permission to contract, but through the lack of dissent, it is implied that you demonstrate agreement. You are bound by your agreement. Now think about just how much contracts manipulate and influence culture by established rules and regulations that you have to abide with to provide to provide abide with private businesses and public institutions, as well as the average Joe when you interface with them, like the post office employee that I went to today. Think of your landlord, your job, your daycare center, your internet provider, Facebook, all other social media platforms, your bank, etc., etc. How many terms and conditions do you have to adhere to before these people will even deal with you? If you do not agree to all of them, then you will not be allowed to participate on the internet. You cannot earn money, you cannot travel, you cannot participate in banking. The levels go deep. So what ends up happening? You wouldn't be listening to me on this platform right now if we didn't both agree to the terms to participate, would we? Clearly no. So they had their way with us already, didn't they? They sure did, because we both know that the bottom line is that if we don't get with the program the way it is structured, that we will not be allowed to be part of the program. If we do not get with the program, it would if we do get with the program, it would be according to their terms, right? Nobody wants to be left out, right? Now, you might want to be left out of this platform or even out of banking and education and employment. I mean, out of this platform, but out of banking and education and employment and everything else. How are you going to survive in this day and age? Answer, you're not. Such is the power of contracts. Now, enough said on that one for today. Now, on to government. In the past, I've identified government as the principal impediment to the self determination of any people worldwide. It is the muscle behind every single element that I described here today used to take over the world. And behind every government that exists in the world, somewhere in the shadows dwells a creature so sinister in demeanor as the red-eyed white laboratory rat known as Pinky that I described earlier. He vows every day to take over the world, patiently waiting for his day to come. Now, government is the claws and teeth that give these elements the power to keep us in the conditions that we're in, that are getting ever more grave daily. What more evidence do we need to finally realize that these government leaders are not our friends and that they have never been? With all of that having been said, I think that it is very important that I make it clear that I am not foolish enough to conceive of spreading the idea of eliminating government altogether, especially not at all at once. That would be absurd because governments have served the needs of human populations for thousands of years. So we have to be eased into it, and through an understanding or whatever. And that might be a long way off. So we have to use what we have right now. So I'm not one of those people foolishly that would be like cause shock on people. The problem that I have with governments are that historically, probably in every instance in the last millennia or so, where humanity has ideologically made progress by and through the signing of the Magna Carta, which brought us into this era, which is known to have given birth to constitutions around the world, governments, however outwardly well-intentioned during its founding, have become corrupt and to the core, through and through. Excuse me. They've become corrupt to the core, through and through. Now, is it the government's fault? Do they oppress people on their own, or is it used to oppress us by small groups of people that hate us wherever we are? I say us because there is no faction of humanity that government corruption does not affect. This affects every single person of every single ethnicity and status that you could think of. Now, what I've done today and in the last few productions that I've made recently has only scratched the surface in bringing light to the circumstances that cause living in the world today to be the way that it is in an informal yet organized linear format that is easy to comprehend if you are astute. Of course, there are many more factors, but these are all that I could think of so far that needed to be included in these correspondences in order to begin to satisfy the next stage of the resolutionary process, solutions. And before I start down this path, I need to get a little personal with you. Yeah, I know that this production is kind of long. Sorry, I got a lot to say. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a lot to say. I've been adjusting to being a resolutionary for the past few years. And a resolutionary should provide solutions to problems and not just identify them. Am I right or wrong about that? Everyone is tired of that. I know I am. Where's the leadership? Where are the solutions? As I look around, I see a whole lot of people with leadership potential that, for whatever reasons, aren't leading. Now, many of those who are leading are so personally challenged that they should have made the decision to not lead, like the other ones that I've just spoken about. Now, I could identify many reasons, but for now, I won't go there. Most of you couldn't handle, oh yeah, uh, most of you that are leading are so personally challenged that they should have made the decision not to lead like the other ones that I've just spoken about. Now, I could identify many reasons, but for now, I won't go there. Most of you couldn't handle the things that I would say, so I would just leave that subject alone. I always wanted to be a leader, but the odd thing about my concept of leadership is that I hope to inspire, empower, and encourage those who follow my example to become even greater than I am, making them students of me and me students of theirs in the process, but never at any time any of them being my followers. I do not positively relate to that word in strong ways in reference to what I do. I put this list together with the intentions of properly identifying things on the list that cause us to be where we are so that we could know what we are working with. Knowing, as they say, is only half the battle. Now, you may recall that earlier I mentioned that I'm only scratching the surface. This means that at this point, according to what I've shared so far, you don't know much, comparatively speaking, about the world that I'm talking about today if you're really new to these types of topics, or in other words, if you're green. Now, as I look around and I constantly search for leaders who have the answers to our many problems, all I could find are thousands and thousands of people who have bits and pieces of the puzzles, but they have no solutions. I myself have failed in my attempts to provide solutions over and over again. And in the absence of not finding the leaders with the solutions that I've been looking for so long, I have finally come to the realization that I have to become the change that I want to see. What was my first step going to be? Where do I start? I didn't know. What I did know is that I have a critical and analytical mind, that the 15,000 hours of forced socialization into obedience called schools didn't work on me. Life's experiences have taught me to solve problems by reverse engineering a situation using a full spectrum of whatever information that I could acquire about all elements of the intended focus. I am pretty confident in my ability to do anything that I put my mind to that is in alignment with my life's purpose, with the continued guidance and grace of the creators themselves. They order my footsteps, and I follow with gladness in my heart, no matter what the consequence. I know that there is nothing to fear. Fear is the enemy of progress. It is a form of worship. It is blasphemous to fear anyone other than your makers. They are the only ones worthy of fear. Fear of anything but God is, in fact, ungodly, because fear of those things will make you do ungodly things. Now let's recap. The rule of law, commerce, religion, language, culture, contracts, government. Is that all that I identified in this production? It doesn't matter. What does matter is that each and every one of these things on their own have their own story as to how they were used to contribute to the fall of humankind. Used together, they have absolutely devastated and collectively robbed us of our birthright and if everything and of everything good in this world that we are naturally entitled to. The people that have caused this mess do not intend to stop where they are. What has happened so far is just a stage that we are going through before they who are ruling over us decide to take us to the next stage, slaughter. Until then, many of us are like cows grazing in the fields, chewing our cud, knowing full well that any cow who ever leaves for that farmhouse is later heard uttering the loudest screams and in the end is never heard from or seen again. They know what's going on. Now they're just waiting for their turn. Clearly, I'm not waiting for my turn. And if you've hung in there with me this long so far, you're not either. We, humanity, can beat those who make themselves our enemies at their own game. It's time for us to start or begin harvesting them instead of the other way around. I think it's a good idea. What do you think? The next time that you hear my messages, they'll begin to become solution based. I will still do what I'm best known for doing so far, which is disseminating information, where the enactment of certain plans of those who rule us are so far advanced that it is difficult to conceive of any scenario with an outcome that does not involve the greatest and most senseless amount of loss of life and human suffering ever experienced by humanity at one given time. That's inevitable. I don't know what to expect, positive or negative. The potential outcome seems more positive than negative, but like I said before, not without a lot of needless suffering. I've already reversed engineered all of these elements discussed here today and on other occasions. My next goal is to discuss ways that we could counteract the effectiveness of these measures created for and used against humanity. Now, with that said, this communication will now come to a close, and I would like to thank everyone who listened to this broadcast in part or in its entirety. I hope that you have gained some good insights from it. And if you find value in the things that you've heard me say today, and if you think that some of the people you know could benefit from it, go on ahead and share it. I would appreciate that. I'm going to go on working. I'm going to go work on gathering the facts and words needed to continue this work. But in the meantime, until then, I bid you farewell. And as always, I would like to leave you with the following powerful words. Right on to the real and death to the fakers. I really mean it. Justify your existence or die like the motherfucking punk ass. Mm, damn, I ain't know my lips was that crusty this whole time. I know my mouth was dry. Like the punk ass motherfucking bitch that you know you are. And one more thing. Maybe may we all get exactly what the fuck we deserve. One.